Hello, it's Jonathan Wellham of RockLinc Investment Partners, and it's December the 16th, 2013. You can tell it's Christmas time because I have my Christmas sweater on, but I want to talk to you just briefly about our latest newsletter that just went out, and that would be our fourth quarter newsletter for 2013. In that newsletter, we talk about the tale of two markets. And at the beginning of the newsletter, we just outline for you the tremendous performance differential between the U.S. market and the Canadian market. And we, again, give you some of the reasons for that. Primarily, it's really to do with commodities. Ultimately, we believe in 2014 and going forward that the Canadian market will play catch-up in some of those areas that have been basically beaten down during the last year or two in the commodity space. The second part of that newsletter, we talk about one of the areas that we continue to invest in, and that's the agricultural sector, including agricultural products, companies that are financing the agricultural industry, along with agricultural implements or equipment companies. And we outline a number of really terrific long-term reasons to be an investor in that dynamic space, very similar to really the water industry, where we also have significant investments. And then the last section of the newsletter, we have a little bit of fun with the Federal Reserve. On December the 23rd, it will be the 100th anniversary of the Federal Reserve. And we find it quite interesting that the reason the Federal Reserve came into existence was to protect the public and create pricing stability. And we put a chart in the newsletter, and the chart's probably up on your screen now, and you can look at it. And we explained it in the newsletter, so I'm not going to go through it. But what it does show is it gives us the last 200 years of history in terms of inflation and the value of the US dollar against the Swiss franc, which would be somewhat of a proxy to gold. And as you can see, during the first 100 years, there was actually quite a bit of stability. You can see that prices didn't really move that much, and the US dollar actually went up in value because the economy was becoming much more productive in those years. But as soon as the Federal Reserve came into being, you can see that immediately inflation started to go up. You can see that the US dollar started to lose ground against gold, even though there was a pegging. And when President Nixon took the US dollar off of the gold standard, you can see that the price increases went parabolic. They went straight up. They started to compound at a very high level, and the US dollar plummeted. So here we are, 100th anniversary of the Federal Reserve. In our view, we'd be much better off without it. And so it's just a reminder again of why we own some of the precious metal stocks, which have been hammered, but in our view remain some of the cheapest and best positioned companies going forward. And we also just talked briefly about that because we actually own some of the finance companies where in this market the deals are very, very attractive. So hopefully that newsletter is helpful to you. I do want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. As many of our clients know, I am a practicing and strong Christian, and this time of year is really one of the most special times of year for a Christian. And let me remind you of the reasons for that. We have clients from all different backgrounds, all different religious persuasions, and yet I do like to remind people of the significance of Christmas in a day and age in which in many cases it's just not politically correct, and as most people know, we don't want to be limited by our opportunities to explain our faith by political correctness. In 1 Timothy 3:16, the Apostle Paul makes a very profound statement, and he says, "Without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh." And that's the message of Christmas, that God actually took to himself human flesh. One of the theologians that I had many years ago teaching me down at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School in Chicago back in the late 80s said the following. He says, "When we consider the person of Jesus Christ, it may be easy to lose sight of what is actually taught in the Bible. It is by far the most amazing miracle of the entire Bible, far more amazing than the resurrection, more amazing even than the creation of the universe. The fact that the infinite, omnipotent, eternal Son of God could become man and join himself to human nature forever, so that infinite God became one person with finite man, will remain for eternity the most profound miracle and the most profound mystery in all of the universe. Why? The question, of course, you should be asking is why? And I take you back to that very well-known verse. Often we see it at football games and hockey games, and it's a verse that many of us know, and it's a very simple verse, but very profound in its meaning. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Why? Because God loved the world. And so this is a message of hope, eternal hope, and a message I hope that each of you appreciate and share and can ponder anew and afresh this year. And so we wish you all the best from RockLinc Investment Partners, and we look forward to 2014.